everybody. This is Stephen Whitfield with Drilling Contractor here at the 2024 IADC SPE Managed Pressure Drilling and Underbalanced Operations Conference in Rio de Janeiro here at Petrobras R&D. And with me right now is a man who presented here at this conference, Matt Cavallo, Stasis Drilling Solutions. He gave a fascinating presentation about humans in the loop, and kind of looking at human factors in MPD. There's a lot of really cool stuff. We're going to try to distill it all into a little 5-6 minute video here, but we'll talk a little bit more about some of the things he discussed here at the conference. So Matt, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the concepts that you brought up in your presentation and in your paper. The first one, I think probably one of the main things, was looking at a different way of looking at human factors. You had talked about sort of the distinction between rules-based and knowledge-based human factors. Can you tell us a little bit about that distinction, a little bit about knowledge-based human factors and how it's kind of a different way of looking at it?
So the key thing in understanding human factors is how humans make decisions. And when they make the decisions, they make them in three ways: a knowledge-based, a rules-based, or a skills-based. A knowledge-based is a novel situation. It's usually a high-risk situation or something's gone wrong and they need to identify what to do. And that's where the human comes in and tries to identify from previous experience, past knowledge, past education, what they need to do. And we need to understand that when we put a person in that situation, there's a higher likelihood that an error will be made the first time they're doing it. And we need to design our systems that if they need to make a knowledge-based decision, they can do it at a safe point, at a paused point.
Okay, also another thing that really caught my attention was attention. You talked about these different types of attention. You gave a little demonstration for the audience, which I don't know how many people got everything there, if they caught all the details, but it was fascinating, these different types of attention and the challenges that they might provide in an operation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So attention is another critical thing. Just like decision making, attention is how we perceive the world around us. There's three different types, and they each have their benefits, they each have their drawbacks. You know, there's selective attention. This is where you're focusing on a specific problem, but it's also what we call tunnel vision. If I'm so focused on one problem, what's going on around me? How do you design systems that allow people to safely focus on a problem, but also kick them out when things go wrong, or that they're not currently paying attention to? The other one is divided attention. Your divided attention is multitasking. We do that all day in, day out. You observe what's going on, we do it, but we have to recognize that when someone's multitasking, they're not fully invested in what they're doing. It's a partial process. And again, we need to make it easier such they can be alerted if things go wrong while they're doing this. And recognize that adding more and more items, you have a degraded return on that human's ability to know what's going on. And finally, is sustained attention. Sustained attention has been studied for years for radar operators, that for about 15 to 30 minutes is about as far as a human can pay attention without starting to degrade their performance. And we have to recognize this, and this is where automation does come in to help, that if you're watching a process, we should have an automated alarm associated with that, because a human can't watch a line for 12 hours a day and always confirm when something changes.
Now, you kind of went into it there talking about the automation, but your paper went into some great detail about all the ways that we can kind of mitigate these challenges that are caused by these different types of attention. And maybe, summing that all up into a little answer might be something, but can you sort of give us sort of a hint of what are some of the best ways that we can kind of address these challenges?
One of the best ways is we can take it from the aviation industry. Planes don't fly themselves. There's always a pilot, there's always a co-pilot. It's a heavily automated system that is incredibly reliable, but they still require two individuals for that system. Now, the reason they require those two individuals is that when things go wrong, the human in the loop is usually what helps correct it, can identify what's going on, can fix it with either a rules-based decision or a knowledge-based decision. But it's those two individuals working together to come up with the correct mental model of what's happening, and also to compensate for the fact that we are human. Mistakes do happen. But there's a lower likelihood of an error occurring when there's two individuals, versus if there's one individual, there's multiple biases and other human factors that play a much stronger role that second individual helps overcome and prevent a safe situation turning into a disaster.
Well, Matt, thank you again for talking to us about this. It's always interesting. You hear so much about sort of human factors in operations and in MPD. I mean, it's really cool to hear, so thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for visiting Drilling Contractor.